So today, we are reminded about how God meets all of our needs. As human beings, aren't we kind of all focused on a problem? You probably have a problem going on in your life right now. And we focus on how to solve that problem. And God, through his benevolent love, gives us this gift to be able to solve problems, to go through problem solving. But it is also a curse, I would say, because when we are stumped with the problem, then it can easily start to lead to worry. And we know that Jesus does not want us to worry, does he? I mean, throughout all the scriptures, Jesus warns us several times, do not worry. Worry about today, for tomorrow will take care of itself. Look at the lilies of the field. And whenever we worry, guess what we're doing? We're placing our trust in ourselves, and we're actually breaking the first commandment, to love the Lord our God with all of our heart and all of our souls, and to place nothing above God. And so what happens is when we worry is we start to place ourselves above God, because then we go to try to find the solution, and we spend a lot of time. And so we make ourselves a false idol. So today we reflect, though, on the wonder and awe of God. And that's what the psalmist was trying to tell us. The psalm today, the hand of the Lord feeds us. He answers all our needs. There's nothing to worry about. And God does this in extravagant fashion. So, like the psalmist today, we come to Mass and we should be singing with songs of praise to God, because he is there, always exceedingly answering all of our needs. There's a sense of wonder and awe that the psalmist has. And our readings not only remind us that how God meets our needs in marvelous ways, but he is in us and working through us and needs us to perform his divine plan. He uses us, each one of us, in a unique way. He has called us. And the Apostle Paul reminds us that to be mindful of this calling, that he is in us and working through us, and he calls us to be very cognizant of some of the things that the virtues that we should be living by, so we can be living in harmony with one another. See, the hand of the Lord does feed us, and he answers all of our needs, but it is through us that he is working today. Our Charitable Works Committee here at St. Matthew has some I love to talk to them, because they're so excited about what they do. They know that they are being a vessel to the Lord. And at the 8 o'clock Mass this morning, what a witness it is to see at the communion time, those communion distributors coming up to take the Lord, the precious body, blood, soul, and divinity, to the homebound. That is a witness to all of us here at St. Matthew. The hand of the Lord does feed us and meets of all our needs, but as I said, sometimes we almost wait until we're in desperate needs to call upon the Lord. And I think it's because we often forget that God is constantly providing for us, and it's with those times when we're really hurting and we want God to be there, and we cry out to him in desperation. But God is there supplying all our needs in abundance all the time. I mean, for example, if you just look at the earth and the crop that it yields in abundance food for our bodies. And not only just food for our bodies, but he gives us food for our spirits if we take time, as the psalmist does, and looks to see how exquisitely painted are the skies and the meadows that we gaze upon, the beautiful fragrances that come from the flowers. We're warmed by the sun and cooled by the breeze. Yes, God does meet all of our needs, and he does it in extravagant ways. Our gospel today shows us that Jesus had a crowd that followed him and was just mesmerized by his power. And they came to follow him not really out of faith. They were coming to follow him out of curiosity about what they had heard Jesus was doing. And they were mesmerized by his power. And though crowds didn't even come really because they were hungry, the text doesn't say that they were hungry. Jesus, though, performed this miracle for higher purpose than to just feed them. He gave us this text because it shows us something very interesting. He took the barley loaves, and it's an obvious link to the unleavened bread at Passover. And he gave thanks, the text says. The word Eucharist means thanksgiving. Did you know that? And he gave thanks. This is actually a very clear indication that he was trying to draw our attention to something that happens here at Mass, the Eucharist. And the crowds would later understand that after Jesus had performed his mission on earth, and after his passion and death on the cross, they would later be able to see this. It's absolutely 100% a Eucharistic connection. I ran into somebody about a year ago, I remember, and they challenged me on this, and I actually didn't know this, but you may get approached by this. But there are some Bible theologians that take this text and they try to discount it, saying that this is nothing more than an example of human sharing that was embellished by the gospel writer. I was shocked when I heard that, and you may get approached by that. But regardless of how others might have later started to interpret this, the people that were there present in today's gospel, it is very, very evident that they saw it as clearly an act of the power of God. And it is an act of the power of God. And the hand of the Lord feeds us and answers all of our needs, and definitely does it here at Mass. That is the hand of the Lord that is coming down to the power of God. We are witnesses of one of the greatest miracles every time we come here to Mass. It's absolutely a Eucharistic reflection. And as we reflect on these readings today and we leave today, we are called to reflect on the greatness of God and how he does answer our needs, and that it's not enough just to belong here at St. Matthew's. It's not enough that our needs are to be satisfied or are satisfied. As members of the people of God here at St. Matthew, we are called to live in a manner worthy of that call, just like Paul said to the Ephesians, that we are called to live in a manner that is noble and not selfish. We are to live with each other in humility and gentleness, with patience, and we are to bear with one another in love. So we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. I may preach too long sometimes, and you may get a little upset with that. Bear with me. I'm a normal human being, and I hope that I can bear with you. And my family members, I have to bear with them. We live with one another, and we are members with each other, not merely because we belong here at St. Matthew again. We belong to the same species. We have been born to new life in baptism. And we are all called to live by that same Spirit of Jesus, to be united by the bond of God's love. And the bread that we are now to receive comes from the hand of the Lord. And it is much more than just mere barley loaves. It is the bread of fullness of life in all its dimensions. Life and in Jesus and through Jesus. The hand of the Lord feeds us, and he does, in extravagant ways, answer all of our needs.